taking along the suggestions from all the members, including the principal opposition party led by Rahul Gandhi ji.
So far, pollution has made its presence felt only through symbolism. Congress MPs arriving with masks, cylinders and props to highlight the air emergency.
मैं पूरी तरह से सहमत हूँ और मेरे ख्याल से सब सहमत हैं। सरकार ने भी कहा हम सबको डिस्कस करना चाहिए और एक एक्शन प्लान बनना चाहिए। बहुत हो गया है और बहुत हर साल बढ़ते जा रहा है।
But here's the bitter question. Will one token discussion change anything? Will a single session magically fix years of apathy and denial? Because even as our cities choke, the centre insists it will follow its own air norms, not global data. The government maintains that WHO's air quality guidelines are just advisory, not standards India must honour. And to defend that stand, the Environment Minister claimed in Parliament that Delhi's AQI from January to November has been the best in years. A debate on pollution is a good start. But let's be honest, it's literally one step in the many required to make us breathe easy, quite literally. Bureau Report, India Today.
Joining me on the show tonight, Vimlendu Jha, environmentalist. We have Bhavya from the Congress Party, and Dr. Anil Gupta is part of the Delhi BJP board member of CPCB. Before I bring in the politicians, I want to understand from you, Vimlendu Jha, when the government now says that India will set its own air standards, global rankings, not official, what does it actually mean? Are we running away from the truth? Not ready to face the truth?
So yes, Marya, in that one breath, when the government has actually agreed to have a discussion on air pollution issue, conceding, ideally the government should have done this suo motu. You don't need a politician of any political party to remind the government that this is the most urgent issue. In the same breath, the government is saying that the standards of Europe or America or of WHO or of IQ Air doesn't apply to India, as if Indian lungs breed something different. And also it has said just a couple of days ago that nobody in India actually dies because of air pollution or falls unwell at all. And while the government admitted position, or the amicus admitted position in Supreme Court has been that the air quality monitors shut down at the peak of pollution, still the average and what the environment minister is saying, that we have actually fared better than last year. So if you turn off the air quality monitors, if you sprinkle water on air quality monitors, when you say that nobody dies or nobody falls ill, when the world's most reputed health organization called Lancet tells you that 1.5 million people die each year because of air pollution, when you know that already India's PM 2.5 standard and other standards are 8 times higher than WHO, and now we're saying that we don't even believe in those standards at all. So in a way, glad that this discussion should happen, because this is a bipartisan, multi-partisan, it's an issue that it should affect everybody, and there should be a consensus. High time that country should fight this all together rather than it's not a BJP versus...
Absolutely. It's not BJP versus the Congress, BJP versus the Aam Aadmi Party, because you cannot blame any of the neighboring states. The air quality seems to be bad in just about every metropolitan city, and that's the concerning part here. Dr. Anil Gupta, Der Aaye Durust Aaye would be the larger sentiment, but is the Delhi government also ready to share the blame, the BJP government in Delhi, that you made tall promises when you came to power, but now you are also shifting blame just as your predecessor did?
No, we are not shifting the blames to anybody. We are working on the dust mitigation. We are working to control the air pollution. We don't say that we have control, but we are working on this. And whatever the Honorable Environment Minister has mentioned in the Parliament, he just compared the figures with the previous years. And definitely, if you take the figures from February to September, the AQIs are better. And from October, November, and this is December, if you take the AQI readings, it was better than the previous years. The work done by the Delhi government for dust mitigation should be appreciated. And we have a lot more to do. I'm not saying the solution is there, but we need some more time. It is not a one-day job to clean the air. We are working on this. If you give me the time, I will narrate all the points which we have undertaken.
Yes, you may be speaking about what all you have done, but the sense is that India has taken its position in global indices such as IQ Air's Air Quality Ranking, the WHO Global Air Quality Database, the Environmental EPI, which is the Environmental Performance Index, the Global Burden of Disease Metrics, and the Environment Ministry has said no official country-wise pollution ranking is carried out worldwide. So you are essentially dismissing all the parameters which were so far used to measure pollution.
See, India has the National Ambient Air Quality Standards, which were formed in 2009. There are 12 parameters into that. And for measurement of the AQI, we take into consideration the 8 parameters. These are the established percent. And we take the WHO standards as the advisory one also. And we should have trust on our, India is a developing country. It is not a developed country. That time the Congress government was there. Still, that practice is there. But if the parliamentarians discuss something and they come out with something new, government, I think, is acceptable to the idea. But we should not say that the world standards are better as compared to India's. Whatever you have mentioned, they are the private agencies. India has one of the best parameters you can calculate.
But if you look at the thick smog, which has engulfed the entire national capital region, we cannot say that the standards by which so far the pollution was being measured is incorrect. If you're not able to clean up the air, then that should be the effort rather than dismissing the data which has been put out, is my limited point here, Dr. Gupta. I'm going to come to you. But Bhavya, effort which has been made by the leader of opposition here, many would say it's well taken, because it is a bipartisan issue. It cannot be division along party lines. A bad air quality affects everyone.
Yeah. So this is like every party in India should come outside their ideological, this comes under everyone's ideology. There's no boundary of ideology when it comes to such issues. Air pollution, that too in the capital city of India, this is something very concerning and very embarrassing at a global level. And the future of India, our children are breathing this air. I have read somewhere that, even smoking in another city is better than breathing in Delhi. That is the standard Delhi has been reduced to right now, the air quality in Delhi. We definitely appreciate the fact that Centre has agreed to come out and discuss this issue in the parliament. But is that enough? Like you pointed out, just a discussion is not enough. We need to see actions. We need to see, right now we are saying, yes, we will be with the Centre, we will discuss, and we actually need a city-wise plan. It's not just we're going to only concentrate on Delhi. We don't want this situation to come up again in another state of India, a developing state, or a developed state, or whichever state in India. So we need a city-wise plan so that we know what are the causes of this air pollution in each city and we can come up with a solution. But if Centre doesn't, if it brushes off like every other issue, or say things like, WHO standards are not binding on us, they're just mandatory. Come on, first thing is the Delhi government tried even faking the AQI index, air quality index once. But to say something like this is not acceptable. The standards need to be definitely high at any cost. If our standard is better than a world standard, then yes, we accept it. But please do not reduce the standard and say that we are going to only match this.
By the Minister of State for Environment, Mr. Kirti Vardhan Singh, is also worth watching and considering here, Bhavya, irrespective of the Treasury benches and the logic which is coming from them. They are saying that the WHO's guidelines are meant to help countries set their own standards. Okay. Goes on to talk about that taking into account geography, environmental conditions, background levels, and national circumstances. So perhaps the WHO guidelines are more like an advisory. So the government of India, which should have happened in the past, my question is that why are we waking up to these WHO guidelines now?
Guidelines now, exactly. My question is, no matter what standards, today if you see Delhi, it's far below any standard that even you set or any other countries can set or even the WHO has set. Now to talk about this only shows we are not committed to reduce the pollution. Instead, make sure the standard will match the pollution. That's not how it works. Right now, concentrate on reducing this pollution, keep the highest standard so that we will reach it someday in some years at least, if not tomorrow. When you set
So,
your standard,
Vimlendu,
it should always be higher.
as a concerned citizen and also as an environmentalist, we'll all be looking forward to this discussion. Finally, the parliamentarians are waking up to an issue which affects us on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on a minute-by-minute basis. I'm sitting inside my office. All of you are in closed spaces. But imagine what it will take when you step out. You are breathing poison. That's the concern for every Delhiite, all of us who live in the NCR region. But, politicians discussing it in parliament, what will we be really achieving here, Vimlendu?
So I'll tell you what will we achieve. Right now, there's a deficit of political will, and therefore it also means when we actually show our inclination or interest or intent in terms of political will, then that would mean that our investment, first of all, for air quality governance will increase. India spends 20,000 crores over 6 years across 130 cities for air quality governance. Versus each time we talk about Beijing was actually spending 1 billion to 2 billion US dollars per year for air quality. So when you actually make it a national issue, because the other issue, Marya, is that Delhi gets disproportionate attention vis-a-vis air quality. Reality is that air of entire India, almost 90% of India's air, actually falls under poor category, very poor, severe, or severe plus. So my thing is that at the end of the day, we cannot find private solution to a public problem, and we actually have to find a public solution. And public solution can only be found from the Parliament of India rather than a legislative assembly of Haryana or of Delhi or of Uttar Pradesh. Because you and I, of course, talk about Noida, Gurgaon, Delhi, and so on and so forth. We talk about air quality monitors of Delhi not working or whatever that Mr. Gupta would talk about. Reality is that 50% of CPCB and state pollution control boards don't have their manpower there. So we don't have budget, we don't have governance infrastructure, we don't have data. In fact, 70% of India's air is not even measured in reality. And therefore, I disagree with the Congress spokesperson saying that we need to have a city plan. No, we need to have a pan-India plan. Because what we'll end up doing, unfortunately, is we'll actually move out of Delhi to Delhi NCR. At best, we'll go to Indo-Gangetic Plain. At best, we'll actually keep fixing our city's air. And in this process, we'll keep doing one small band-aid to a little bigger band-aid, but it will remain band-aid solution. What India needs and what I want to really, invite Prime Minister Modi, and he can do it. Because if he wants to do it, he can do it. In the next 10 years, if we actually invest in public transport regime, throughout the country, if you look at coal thermal power plants that actually contribute to almost 10 to 15% of ambient air quality, if you look at construction demolition norms, if we actually empower our pollution control boards, a lot of these things could be solved. So you know what? Sprinkling water, 90% of government's budget today, Marya, goes in sprinkling water over dust for overnight settling of dust rather than sorting of the source. So all our India's budget actually goes in fixing the symptoms or fixing the data or fixing the perception rather than fixing the source of pollution. And really hope, and I'm so glad that there was no bickering in the parliament today when this issue came. And I do not care whether it was Rahul Gandhi who raised this issue or perhaps it could have been a Sanjay Singh.
Yeah.
Any political party, every political party will have to discuss this. I have lost my voice for almost a week, and I'm sure you have too.
Absolutely. Dr. Anil Gupta.
See, as I mentioned earlier, these standards were framed in 2009. I just saw your screen before the start of the debate. Even today, there are several cities in the country which have the AQI of 50. There are several cities which have an AQI of 100. So, even for Delhi NCR, we have a Commission for Air Quality Management. That is the only reason in the country which going for the imposition of the GRAP 1, 2, and 3. So Delhi has a plan. But what will happen for this change of these parameters? I know if the parliamentarian wants, they can go in for this thing.
Okay, but why is Vimlendu disagreeing with what Dr. Gupta is saying?
So, right now when we talk about changing of parameters, how does it change the air? Changing the parameters just by changing the passing marks, does your exam result change just by changing the standard by, instead of 100 being up very poor. And that's exactly what we've done. India doesn't even measure air quality beyond 500. Can you imagine that? And the reason the government gives, the reason why our air quality monitors of the government, which are half the time shut down and sprinkled with water, they
No,
actually
no, no.
peak out at 500 because they say that there'll be panic in the world. So is 500 AQI and and 800 AQI the same? So we need to understand that data is very, very fundamental, Marya, for two prime reasons. One, data gives you a private advisory and public advisory for some sort of an emergency response, to put a band-aid, to really stop bleeding in that sense. That's one. Two, what data and acceptance of data or really honest intent of capturing data, what it tells you that over 12 months, you'll be able to understand that is it vehicles that pollutes? Is it winter that pollutes? Like right now, what Mr. Gupta was talking about, Delhi's air was really good. Of course, Delhi's air was really great in the month of June, primarily not because of governance, because it rained heavily this season. So the best good air day of Delhi was not because something great was done by our government. It was because the rain gods
Because of the rain
had some
gods,
mercy.
blessed us. Dr. Gupta and Bhavya, I have 30 seconds for both of you. Dr. Gupta, go ahead.
See, let me first clarify. Nobody sprinkle water on air quality monitoring station. It is just the spreading of lies. Who can sprinkle water on the equipments? Delhi has a road network of 28,508 kilometers. For dust mitigation, these sprinkler machines which are there on the screen, they are there all over the cities just to control the dust mitigation. And not only the dust mitigation, we are controlling the source of the pollution also. We are lifting, this in 8 months, we have lifted an extra 30,000 metric tons of the dust from the roads, which is one of the source. And one more thing, this AQI has eight parameters. These 6 parameters are within range. It is only the particular matter 2.5 and 10, which is creating problem. And the government is doing enough on this. And we say it is not a one-day job. It will take some more time to do this dust mitigation. And if you say that only the parameter
Dr.
changing
Gupta,
will be...
a multi-pronged strategy is needed, not just dust
That is true,
mitigation.
that is true.
Because, of course, dust may be the biggest contributor to pollution, but there are so many challenges. Yes, Vimlendu, you have a point again.
No, dust is not. PM10, please understand, PM 2.5 is the most dangerous thing because PM 2.5 particulate matter is 30 to 40 times smaller than human hair. And therefore, it actually affects your bloodstream. And therefore, right now, 90% of, all the RTI says that one, of course, there's very less spending. एक तो बहुत minuscule amount allocate करा है 3,000 करोड़ per साल. उसमें से 90% majority doesn't get
10,000
spent,
crores
and a lot
under
is
NCAP.
actually spent on sprinkling of water. That's not a solution. PM
Okay.
2.5
Bhavya,
is
quickly.
the main killing
PM
particulate matter,
2.5,
not
finally,
PM10.
the politicians are doing what they are supposed to be doing, which is an important discussion which should happen on pollution, which will take place because there is consensus. And I agree with Vimlendu, what it can lead to is some kind of, consensus around solution which is needed, and at the same time, political will. The politicians are talking about that political will, that they are looking for credible solutions, irrespective of the parties they're coming from.
So I totally agree with the environmentalist here, Vimalendu Jha, when he spoke about how we are actually concentrating on mitigating the symptoms and not actually working on the cause of this pollution so that we reduce the pollution. I totally agree with that. It's about a change in the perception of the government and the commitment. It just shows if you keep giving reasons like, no, we didn't sprinkle water, no, we didn't do this. No, please accept what is happening here. Just by changing the standards, you can't change the pollution levels here. It's about the people, it's about the children, and most importantly, like we just spoke, we are all sitting in these closed enclosure. I'm sitting in Bangalore, I'm not even being affected by this pollution, but I can only imagine Delhi, the rich people sitting in their AC cars, sitting in their AC houses, offices with air purifiers. What are the poor people going to do? If you compare the longest time, a poor person will definitely be breathing this air, this impure air. This is a matter of equality as
All right.
well.
We
This
have
is a matter of
really come to
social
the end of
justice
this
as well.
discussion. We certainly look forward to that discussion because that's the need of the hour, as we have been saying. Mimlendu Jha, Dr. Gupta, Bhavya, really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us on this very important discussion. That's all from me. Thanks so much for watching.
For me, good journalism is the truth well told. My philosophy was produce a good editorial product, the money will follow.
For me, India Today represented the discovery of India.
If India Today was seen as a person, I'd say it's a curious magazine.
People who wanted to tell stories came to the magazine. They got attracted by it.
2 पेज और दे दे यार अरुण प्लीज। मैं कहता था यार अरुण तू मुझे ऐसे दबा के मार देना चाहता तो मार। To start a news magazine in the middle of the emergency, sort of suicidal, let me say.
Threatened us. You have a press, we can shut it down.
India Today was setting another benchmark. It has started the first opinion poll in the country.
And that's when a lot of the credibility of India Today got built. That, okay, this is a magazine to be taken seriously.
बीजेपी की सरकार है गोवा में, क्या आपको लगता है कि उन्हें और स्ट्रिक्ट होने की जरूरत है? बिकॉज ऐसे बहुत से पब्स हैं जहां पे इस तरीके की फ्लाउटिंग हो रही है।
आपको क्या लगता है, स्ट्रिक्ट होना चाहिए या नहीं होना चाहिए? आई थिंक होना चाहिए, और देश की जनता भी आपसे यही अपेक्षा करती है कि आप सरकार में जब वो आपको जिम्मेदारी देते हैं, नियम कानून का जो उल्लंघन कर रहे हैं उन पर सख्त से सख्त कार्रवाई हो। कंसिडरिंग कि वो लोग देश से भागकर आपको थाईलैंड जाकर उनको डिटेन करना पड़ा, बहुत सवालिया निशान उठाता है। ये जनता पूछ रही है कि गोवा से वो भाग खड़े हुए, गोवा की पुलिस ने लुकआउट नोटिस क्यों नहीं जारी किया? ऐसा क्यों है कि इमिग्रेशन अथॉरिटीज ने कोई चेक्स एंड बैलेंसेस नहीं किए? क्यों होम मिनिस्ट्री इसकी जवाबदेही नहीं ले रही है? डू वी हैव एन एक्सट्राडिशन ट्रीटी विद थाईलैंड? सो ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स विल हैव टू बी आस्क्ड, एंड व्हाई इज इट दैट दे वर फ्लाउटिंग ऑल रूल्स एंड नॉर्म्स? सो हैविंग caught them and detained them is not the answer. The answer is that promptly there should be action against those who work against people and in service industry especially, and flout norms.
This CCTV clip has emerged as a crucial evidence in a drug case in Madhya Pradesh. It has exposed Malhargarh police station, which was ranked among India's top 10 police stations and announced by the Home Minister just last month. The CCTV video from a bus at 11:39 a.m. on August 29 shows 18-year-old Sohan Lal being taken away by police officers in plain clothes. The same day, the Malhargarh police registered a case under the NDPS Act against Sohan Lal for possessing 2 kilos and 714 grams of opium. The police claim to have arrested him at 5 p.m. from in front of a crematorium in Malhargarh. Sohan Lal's family obtained the CCTV video from the bus owners and submitted it to High Court, which granted him bail.
माननीय न्यायालय जमात दी थी और ये माना था कि बस में उसे अवैध तरीके से किडनैप करके ले जाया गया और शाम को 5 बजे उस पर अवैध मादक पदार्थ 2 किलो 700 ग्राम अफीम जब्ती का केस बनाया गया था। वो होनहार बच्चा है, 12वीं क्लास फर्स्ट डिवीजन पास हुआ है।
The High Court also summoned Mandsaur MP Vinod Kumar Meena before the Indore bench on December 9th. When the police officer SP Vinod Kumar Meena appeared before the court as directed, more skeletons came out. The investigating officer had told the court the people seen in the CCTV images taking Sohan Lal off the bus were not from police. But the SP admitted they were indeed police officers. The SP also added the officers had not followed the legal procedure in the investigation. SP Vinod Kumar Meena informed the court that 6 police officers involved are suspended. Sohan Lal's family claims he has cleared class 12th with a first class. They claim he is innocent. The High Court, while granting bail, however, made it clear that the bail is not an acquittal. With Ravish Pal Singh, Bureau Report, India Today.
Hello and welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching India Today Global. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will embark on a 4-day visit to West Asia and Africa. He would be visiting 3 countries, Jordan, Ethiopia and Oman, from the 15th to the 18th of December. Prime Minister Modi will first visit Jordan King Abdullah II, and it will also mark the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations between India and Jordan. Both countries will focus on strengthening bilateral relations and areas of collaboration. Prime Minister Modi will then embark on a state visit to Ethiopia and will also be his first visit to the country. Then he will wrap up his trip by visiting Oman. It will be Prime Minister's second visit to Oman. Both countries share a comprehensive strategic partnership, including trade and strong people-to-people ties. It will also be the 70th year of diplomatic relations since Sultan Haitham bin Tariq's visit to India in 2023. The countries will review trade, investment, energy, defense, security, technology, agriculture, and culture. Staying with the story, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's landmark visit to Jordan, which will be his first, marks a major push in India's West Asia strategy, strengthening political dialogue, trade and regional security cooperation at a time when West Asia faces its most volatile moment in years. Farhan Khan with this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to kick off his 3-nation tour to Jordan, Oman and Ethiopia with a highly significant stop in Jordan from 15th to 16th December. And while the visit may appear normal on paper, it comes at a moment when West Asia is more volatile than it has been in years, making Modi's engagement with Amman both timely and strategically important. This will be Modi's first full-fledged bilateral visit to Jordan. His last interaction with the country was a brief transit stop in 2018 en route to Ramallah. But this time, the visit stands on its own and carries weight. India and Jordan are marking 75 years of diplomatic relations, and both sides are preparing to review the entire gamut of ties, as the Ministry of External Affairs has put it. Jordan may not dominate headlines the way other West Asian countries do, but it holds an outsized influence in regional politics. It is a frontline state on the Israel-Palestine issue, the custodian of Muslim holy sites in Jerusalem, and home to a large number of Palestinian refugees. In the aftermath of the Gaza conflict and shifting Arab alignments, Jordan's voice has become even more critical. Modi's visit therefore signals India's intention to engage directly with a moderate Arab monarchy that often acts as a stabilizing force in the region.
Jordan is a respected name in historical and religious heritage of the world. Under the far-sighted leadership of His Majesty King Abdullah, Jordan has achieved sustainable and inclusive growth. Its progress in economic, social, and cultural development has been remarkable. In an important region of the world, Jordan has emerged as a powerful voice and a global symbol of moderation and inclusivity. It has emerged as a model state living in peace with its neighbors and is a symbol of stability and a voice of reason. His Majesty, the King, continues to play a key role in the promotion of peace in West Asia.
Experts stress that Jordan's geography and political posture make it indispensable in conversations about regional stability. Amman consistently supports a two-state solution, a position India also backs. And it has quietly played mediator during moments of crisis. The visit will allow the two countries to exchange assessments on the fast-changing situation in West Asia, counter-terrorism concerns, and ways to prevent further escalation. But this trip is not just about geopolitics. There is a strong economic dimension as well. India is Jordan's fourth largest trading partner, with bilateral trade touching nearly $2.9 billion in 2023-24. India imports key fertilizers and phosphates from Jordan, essential for its agricultural sector, while exporting machinery, chemicals, cereals, frozen meat, and other products. There is also growing interest around the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, or IMEC, which is expected to pass through Jordan. As Amman undertakes economic reforms and seek fresh investments, sectors like fintech, renewable energy, automobiles, and advanced manufacturing are opening up. Experts argue that this is an opportunity for Indian businesses to expand their presence in a country that traditionally hasn't been given enough attention in India's West Asia policy. Energy cooperation remains another promising frontier. Jordan is located close to the gas-rich Eastern Mediterranean basin and is exploring ways to attract investment in the sector. Indian companies could play a key role as Amman diversifies its energy sources to ensure long-term stability. Jordan has also supported India's foreign policy positions, including on Kashmir and the broader Neighborhood First agenda. The political warmth and steady goodwill between the two countries provide a strong foundation for Modi's upcoming visit. In essence, Modi's Jordan visit is more than a symbolic anniversary gesture. It is India's attempt to cement ties with a dependable partner at a time of regional turmoil. By deepening political dialogue, economic cooperation, and strategic coordination, New Delhi is signaling that Amman will remain an essential pillar of its West Asia engagement. With Farhan Khan, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
The United States has intensified pressure on Venezuela, with President Trump announcing fresh sanctions on relatives and associates of President Nicolas Maduro. The move comes amid growing scrutiny over a recent military strike and follows the U.S. seizure of a Venezuelan oil tanker, escalating tensions between Washington and Caracas.
As US lawmakers mount pressure on Trump administration to release the raw video of the September 2nd strike on boat as a part of Operation Southern Spear, President Trump announced new sanctions on family members of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. President Trump has stressed the need to put an end to drug trafficking and accused the Maduro government of smuggling drugs into the United States. The sanctions have been imposed on 3 nephews of Maduro's wife, Cilia Flores, a Maduro-affiliated businessman, and 6 shipping companies operating in Venezuela's oil sector. Earlier, the nephews, dubbed as narco nephews, were convicted in 2016 on charges that they tried to carry out a multi-million-dollar cocaine deal and sentenced to 18 years in prison, but were released in a 2022 prison swap with Venezuela. This also comes within days of the US government's revamped 33-page national security strategy, wherein the administration has stressed on readjustment of the US military presence in the Western Hemisphere to counter migration, drug trafficking, and what it describes as the rise of adversarial powers in the region based on the Monroe Doctrine.
Well, it's about a lot of things, but one of the things it's about is the fact that they've allowed millions of people to come into our country from their prisons, from gangs, from drug dealers, and from mental institutions, probably proportionately more than anybody else. They came in from many countries. We're getting them out. We had 11,888 murderers come into our country. Many of them are from Venezuela. We had thousands of Tren de Aragua, the gang, come in from, which they say is the most violent gang. I don't know, MS-13 is pretty bad, but Tren de Aragua they say is the most violent gang. That comes out from the prisons of Venezuela. It came out of the prisons of Venezuela.
The sanction follows the oil tanker seizure by the US on the coast of Venezuela.
As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so you'll be seeing that later, and you'll be talking about that later with some other people.
Meanwhile, Maduro had condemned the seizure of oil tanker and ordered for legal and diplomatic action.
Yesterday, they committed an absolutely criminal and illegal act when they proceeded to carry out a military assault, kidnapping and robbery like pirates of the Caribbean on a private civilian commercial merchant ship. A ship of peace that was assaulted almost as it was reaching the Atlantic. They kidnapped the crew, they stole the ship. They have ushered in a new era, the era of criminal naval piracy in the Caribbean. So Venezuela rejects its entirety this act of criminal piracy against the entire Caribbean. And I have already given sufficient instructions for all the necessary legal and diplomatic actions to be taken and measures to be implemented, because Venezuela will secure all ships to guarantee the free trade of its oil to the world.
De paz que fue asaltada ya casi agarrando el Atlántico.
The US Treasury Department said it has imposed sanctions on 6 shipping companies moving Venezuelan oil, as well as 6 crude oil tankers that it said have engaged in deceptive and unsafe shipping practices and continue to provide financial resources that fuel Maduro's corrupt narco-terrorist regime. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
In an exclusive interview to India Today Global, Celso Amorim, chief advisor to Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, spoke about Venezuela and if Brazil would help the Venezuelan government by granting political asylum to Maduro if the US-Venezuela standoff goes south. For the entire interview, please watch India Today Global's YouTube channel.
Well, what happened inside Venezuela, it's a Venezuelan question. It's for them to decide. Of course, I was there during the elections. I didn't think the elections were fully as they should have been, but we continue to have relations with them because we consider this a problem of an internal problem of Venezuela. We from outside can give some help, but only when there are people in dialogue. And there's no dialogue now. And of course, these acts or these acts of aggression or economic isolation. I mean, all that only aggravates the situation. It doesn't help at all. I mean, we had the example in the past when the U.S. government recognized another gentleman, Mr. Guaido, as president. Did that help? Not at all. In the end, even Mr. Guaido, nobody speaks about him anymore. He's a non-being almost. So this is not a way of acting by pressure, by violation. I think we have to do in a different way. I think it's our duty to help, if there is room for it, to help in a peaceful solution. And if there is no room for it, then we'll have to think. But I prefer not to advance that.
Mexico has announced one of its biggest tariff strikes in decades, hitting more than 1,400 products from countries without a trade pact, and India is one of the biggest targets. From cars to steel, the impact is huge. So what